Hello and welcome to Loving Me, Myself, and Life with me, Jody Misiak. And welcome to the second episode in the Self-Awakening series. Today, we're going to go deeper and examine the stories we carry, the narratives that quietly dictate our choices, relationships, and self-image. Awareness of these stories gives you the power to change them. So let's get cozy and comfy, grab a nice warm beverage if you want, and let's get into this. So, what are inner stories? Inner stories are beliefs, labels, and explanations we use to make sense of life. I'm not enough. I have to be perfect. People will abandon me. Many of these thoughts and beliefs form in our childhood or through a pivotal experience throughout our life. They become the lenses that filter how we see ourselves and the world. I actually lived a good chunk of my childhood and into my early 20s thinking I wasn't smart enough because I was brought up in a house where I was told that I wasn't smart enough. And it really stuck with me until my 20s. When I actually met my husband, we were dating at the time. And he was very understanding and helped me. When I couldn't spell a word, I'd ask him, and he did it without judgment. He did it with a lot of love. And throughout the time, I actually just realized that I learned differently. So it wasn't that I was stupid or dumb. It was the fact that I learned differently and I needed to do stuff differently to know how to spell and read and things like that. And I've come a long way, and it's been almost 2 decades since that time in my life, and I don't see myself as stupid or dumb anymore. But that story stuck with me, and it actually dictated a lot of my choices because I didn't think I was smart enough to go after certain dreams and goals. And I really played small back then because I didn't think that I was good enough or smart enough to do any of that. So those moments, those stories that we tell ourselves when we realize they're not our own and that we picked them up along the way, we can let them go and give them back to the thrift store, right? Like we're carrying baggage and stories and things like that. I think of it as outdated outfits or clothing or things that just no longer serve you. And when you let that go, you can really embrace who you are and you can start loving yourself on a much deeper level. So the aim here is not to erase these stories either, but to witness them, test them, and choose whether they still serve you. So like my story of I'm not smart enough, it definitely wasn't serving me and never really served me. It was somebody else's belief. But then there's other ones that might have served me and kept me safe when I was younger. And then as I got older, realized, okay, this is not me anymore. And that's okay too. So it's not about judgment here or even like making these stories disappear from your past, because these stories make you a part of who you are today. They shaped you into who you are. And it really helped my husband and I. Like we were bonding. It was a really good moment where he was very supportive and loving in that way. And it was really cool and awesome. And like, so that's one of our bonding moments. So without that, like it's taking the positive outcomes from it, keeping those memories and letting the rest go, letting go those old beliefs go. So I hope that makes sense. So how do you spot your stories? Well, signs that your story is active are a repeated emotional reaction that feels outsized, a knee-jerk thought pattern, a repeat life theme. So example, choosing unavailable partners. So when we take a pause and we really look at things, you can kind of see patterns throughout your life playing out. Going back to my original story about myself and thinking that I wasn't smart enough, I wouldn't write, I wouldn't share things. And this was before spell checker was on everything. And I didn't even ask people how to spell things. And then when I did make a mistake and somebody called me out on it, I felt really bad because I was like, oh my goodness, I'm not smart enough. And they saw it. Now, if I make a mistake, I realize that we're all human. I read novels that have missing words, missing punctuation. I'm not the type of person that poo-poos them. I just know that we're all human and we all make mistakes. So I go, wow, yay, it's not just me that makes these little human errors because we're human. And we do miss some things now and then, and that is okay. So I've allowed myself to make mistakes. And so when people call me out on it now, it's like, okay, cool. Thanks for showing me. Awesome. And then I take that and let it go. And it doesn't make me feel less than anymore because I'm like, okay, cool. I made a mistake and I'll own my mistake and then realize, okay, maybe I should have somebody else proofread it or maybe I need to slow down a bit. But also just know that we're all human beings and we do miss a period here or a comma or a whole word. Like I read these that have professional editors and there's words missing. So it's just like, like I don't poo-poo them ever. I don't judge. I actually love it. I'm in this loving vibe when I'm reading going, isn't it nice when somebody misses a word? And then I reread it and add the word that's missing and then all is well again. So it's these things that we just need to slow down and figure out what patterns. So reactions that just don't feel you, where you're like, whoa, or a knee-jerk pattern. So when somebody says something to you and you put a wall up or you get triggered in some way. So it's looking at what caused that to begin with. And then again, looking at themes throughout your life. Are you constantly procrastinating and never finishing a project? Ask yourself why. There's always a deeper root to these stories. There always is. And then just figuring out without judgment. So give yourself a big hug here. Why? Why are they here and where did you pick it up? So let's go deeper into this. So some of the things you can do is notice what sparks strong emotions. So did you get really frustrated or angry? Journal a single recurring complaint and ask, what does this story say about me? So it's not about the other people in your life. That reaction was caused by you and you alone. I used to think that it was all about the other person when I would get triggered. And then I really started looking at my triggers and taking ownership for them. Going, oh, I'm the one reacting here. That doesn't mean that people didn't cross boundaries or treat me poorly, but it was me who was reacting. And I needed to figure out why. So when you peel back those layers and ask yourself, what does this story say about me? Without judgment, though, we're not here to beat ourselves up. We've done that long enough. It's about loving ourselves in this moment and really just unpacking it. What is coming out of the backpack, right? Like what is coming up for you? And then a really big thing is track your should statements for one day. This is huge. When we say should, I should do the dishes now, or I should, whatever it is. When we say should, that usually means we're coming from somebody else's belief. Now, not always, but a lot of the time it's really just pausing and going, ooh, what do I think I should do? And where does this thought come from? So an exercise that you can try is a story timeline. You can create a brief timeline about 3 to 5 early experiences that shaped you. So like I said before, family saying that it wasn't smart enough. And then there's been other different ones throughout too. Like I have so many. And it's just picking 3 to 5. And you might even notice that you have more, but don't overwhelm yourself with these though. Just start with 3 to 5. And if that even feels too heavy, just start with 3. It doesn't have to be a lot. Just start with a little bit. So look at each story and see how you grew from each one of them or held yourself back. And then ask yourself, what did you conclude about yourself? Who reinforced these messages? So I honestly, my story about not being smart enough, I remember my dad going, and this is being real here, like I don't even really want to share this, but I feel like I need to, so you understand, like this is real, is I was struggling in French, and my dad said, why are they even having you in French class? You're not even good at English. And that was just one comment of many, many throughout my years. And I even remember asking for help. And I would always get backlash and judgment when I needed help with spelling. And it's like, if they only took a little time, to help nurture my learning, I might have been different. But I can't go back. So I had to forgive. And I had to forgive my family. And I had to forgive myself. Because I didn't know any better. But neither did my parents. And it's just learning from these moments. So it's about, so I took myself as those moments, I'm not smart enough, that I'm stupid, I'm dumb. Like I had some serious, really hard, heavy feelings there that I felt really stupid. And I took this into my college years. Looking back at some of my journals, I didn't think I was worthy of being in college. And it really affected all my assignments until finally I was just like, enough with these stories. And I didn't even really know what I was doing then. I just thought, well, I need to prove people wrong. Is that angry side of me that just kind of kept pushing. So sometimes anger can actually be rocket fuel for success, which is great. But at the same time, we don't want to live in anger our whole lives. So it's about healing these moments. But I concluded that I was stupid and dumb and that I couldn't do anything. And then it's about just looking at who reinforced that message in your life. And when we realize that it comes from somebody else, then we can let that go because we realize that it's not ours and we can unattach ourselves from it. Now, I'm going to share this because I just shared a lot already, is when you unpack these stories and you pull back the layers or the curtains, there might be some frustration and anger towards other people in your life for not loving you better or more, or understanding you better or more, or being supportive, all those feelings. Journal about that. Embrace that. That's where letter writing comes in. Don't ever send the letters, just write them. I took a while to heal those parts of me and the relationships with those stories and the people in them. There was a lot of frustration and anger towards those people in my life. But what I had to come through on the other end of it all is realizing they're human. They make mistakes and they did the best they could with what they had. And then I came out on the other side going, okay, this is cool. I'm aware of this. I'm healing this. And I can do differently as a parent myself. Will I be a perfect parent? Heck no. But I can learn from my own childhood and keep growing. We can heal those past stories, those generational things, because each generation brings with it their own stories and baggage. And if we don't get rid of those stories and baggages, they continue into the next generation. And I'm not sharing this to make you feel bad. This is where I'm coming from, where cool, I learned this. Celebrate it. Because when you heal something, you don't bring it into the next generation with you. And it's really cool. So it's really about removing that judgment from yourself and others in your life, healing those parts so you can step into the future with so much love for people in your life. And I hope that makes sense. So what do we do now? Now that we've pulled back the layers and going, oh my goodness, what is happening under these layers that I've been avoiding for so many years? It's rewriting and relating differently. So I've kind of touched base about this a little bit already with my own personal story. But once you notice a story, here are the steps to change your relationship with it. So point blank, 4 steps right here, right now. Get a pen and paper, your phone out, whatever it is. If you're driving, come back to this later and write this down because this is important. First, witness without judgment. Use this present moment to observe the story like a character in a play. So you don't have to be in that story. It doesn't have to be you. Just look from it from the outside in, like you're watching a play. Because when we bring our emotions in, then we see things in different lights. So no judgment. Just look at it like you're looking at somebody else's life, a friend, We're always easy to give friends advice or other people advice, but when we have to give ourselves advice, it's so much harder. So without judgment, look at it like a story. Number 2, name it. Give the story a short title. And mine, let's go with my example, the dumb teenager. Whatever it would be, like dummy, whatever, something with the dumb in the title for sure. Okay. Number 3, test it. Look for evidence that contradicts the story. Ask, is this always true? When is it not true? And start picking apart this story. Look for evidence. Put your detective hat on and start looking for evidence that shows this. Number 4, create a compassionate counter story. So craft a more helpful narrative that's believable and grounded. So again, back to my story is I learned differently and I can get support. I actually want to put in a little bit from this because I just had a moment with my own story here and I remembered something really beautiful. And I might have shared this already, but I want to share it one more time. Because before I even met my husband, I had another person in my life that believed in me. And it was my grade 11 English teacher. It was one of the first teachers that really, in high school, took me under their wing and really supported me. And to this day, she very much holds a special place in my heart because we would have to read out loud and I was stumbling and she just saw me and encouraged me and just really supported me in a way I've never been supported before. So these people come into our lives to help guide us down different paths. So just because you have a story that you've had or been told or have been telling yourself for years and years and years doesn't mean that that has to be your story forever. It was about 2001. And then I met my husband in 2009. So like these moments in life where people come in and support. So when you're open to support, amazing things can happen. So just know that. Let me be one of your cheerleaders today. Whatever story you keep telling yourself, it doesn't actually mean that's who you are. I say this with so much love. Okay. As we wrap up this episode, this week I encourage you to look at your story timeline. Practice naming one story. Really just, without judgment, look at some stories that you've been telling yourself. Are they still serving you? If you've enjoyed this episode, please share and subscribe to it. And next week, we'll be talking about listening to your body's wisdom. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you and honor your story or stories. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Take care. Bye for now.